Welcome back to Tales by WZ. In today's story, we explore a fiancée who demanded a prenup to protect herself from a broke teacher, and a groom who signed it fast, then revealed he inherited millions before the wedding. As you listen, notice the moment where trust turns into a transaction. My fiancé said, "We need a prenup." I replied, "I'll sign it today." Then I signed fast, stayed quiet until our wedding night, and dropped one sentence that froze her until she tried to destroy the paper and learned the court had a certified copy. I'm 32, and 2 years ago I proposed to my fiancée. She was 29 then. We'd been together 4 years total. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep. I was a high school history teacher. I made about $58,000 a year. She made around $85,000 with commissions. Money wasn't really a problem. We split things fairly. I paid a bit less on rent because I made less. She said she was fine with it, or at least I thought she was. 6 months before the wedding, she brought up a prenup. We were at dinner. She'd been weird all day, quiet, distracted. Then she put her fork down and said, "We need to talk about protecting our assets." I said, "Okay," she said, "I think we should get a prenup. I've worked hard for what I have. I need to make sure it's protected." I didn't laugh. I didn't panic. I just sat there and thought about what she was really saying. Because I wasn't exactly sitting on some hidden fortune at that point. I had about $12,000 in savings, a 2015 Honda Civic, and retirement accounts from teaching. Maybe $30,000 in total assets if you stretch it. So I asked, "What exactly are you protecting?" She said, "My earning potential, my career trajectory. I'm on track to make 6 figures in a few years. You're a teacher. That's noble, but it's not lucrative." There it was. Not "I'm scared about the future." Not "I want us both protected." Just a clean little ranking system. Her future. My job, her value, my limits. This was the first red flag, and it wasn't even subtle. I said, "So you want a prenup because you make more money?" She said, "I want a prenup because I'm being smart. My financial advisor recommended it." Then she added the part that made everything feel colder. "And if you don't sign it," she said, "we need to seriously reconsider if we're compatible long term. I can't be with someone who doesn't respect my financial security." I stared at her for a few seconds and really looked at her. Not the version of her I wanted to marry, the version of her sitting across from me right then. And I said, "Okay," she blinked. "Okay what?" "I'll sign it," I said. "It makes sense to protect what you've built." She looked surprised, then relieved. "Really, just like that?" "Yeah," I said. "You're right. We should both protect our assets. Let's do it." She smiled like she'd just won something. "I'm so glad you understand," she said. "Some men get weird about this stuff." I didn't get weird. I got quiet because there was something she didn't know. 3 weeks earlier, my uncle died. The will was still in probate. He had no kids. I was his favorite nephew. He'd been like a second father to me. He built a medical device company and sold it years ago. Quietly successful. The kind of wealth you don't advertise. My lawyer had already given me preliminary numbers. Roughly $3.8 million after taxes and estate fees, depending on how a few things finalized. I hadn't told anyone. Not because I was plotting, because I was grieving. I wanted to process it privately first. I wanted to mourn properly without turning my uncle's death into a conversation about money. But sitting across from my fiancée while she talked about protecting herself from my not lucrative job, I realized something. If someone sees you as a financial risk, they should also be treated like one. Her lawyer drew up the prenup. It was thorough. It said premarital assets remain separate. Inheritance remains separate. Income earned during the marriage would be split 60/40 in her favor because she made more. No alimony. Each keeps their own retirement accounts. Any house purchased goes to whoever's name is on the deed. I read every line carefully, and then I signed it, had it notarized. She seemed relieved, almost proud of herself. "Thank you for being mature about this," she said. "Just protecting what's ours." I nodded. "Right, protecting what's ours." 2 weeks before the wedding, the inheritance came through. It wasn't $3.8 million. It landed closer to $3.4 million after everything, and my uncle's house came with it. I sold it quickly for about $780,000, total around $4.18 million, and I still didn't say a word. Because once that prenup was signed, I wanted to see what kind of person I was actually marrying, not the person she pretended to be, the person she was when she thought I had nothing. We got married, small ceremony, about 60 people, nice hotel reception. She insisted on splitting the wedding costs 50-50, even though she made more. I paid my half out of my savings. Wedding night, we were in the hotel suite. She was going through cards and counting cash gifts. We got $8,400, she said. That's amazing. Then she smiled and said, we should put it toward a down payment on a house. I've been looking at places around $450,000. With your teacher salary and my income, we can probably swing it if we're careful. I sat down on the bed, and I said, actually, we don't need to be that careful. She looked up. What do you mean? I kept my voice calm. I inherited some money from my uncle, the one who died a few months ago. Oh, she said, casual at first. How much? About $4 million, I said. Give or take. She froze. Her face did something strange, like her brain tried to reject the number. What? She said. It came through 2 weeks ago, I said. Before the wedding. Her expression changed in stages, confusion, realization, then anger. 2 weeks ago, she repeated. And you didn't tell me, I nodded. You wanted a prenup to protect your assets. I wanted to protect mine. Her voice tightened. You let me walk around thinking you were broke. I'm a teacher, I said. I make $58,000. That part hasn't changed. She snapped. We could have had a nicer wedding. We could have. We had the wedding we could afford based on our salaries, I said. Which is what you wanted to base our life on, according to the prenup. She stood up, shaking. You lied to me. I didn't lie, I said. You never asked if I was expecting inheritance. You assumed I was broke and acted accordingly. She grabbed her phone. I'm calling my lawyer. At 11 p.m. on a Saturday, I said. Good luck. She tried anyway. Voicemail. She looked at me like she wanted me to panic, like she wanted me to apologize. Instead, I just sat there. Then she said, this prenup is, you manipulated me. I said, I signed the prenup you demanded, the one your advisor recommended. The one that protects inheritance. She started crying, not sad crying, angry crying. I can't believe you did this to me, she said. Did what? I asked. Signed the legal document you required before marriage. She stormed to her bag, grabbed her copy of the prenup, and marched into the bathroom. I heard a lighter click. I stood up and walked after her. She was holding the prenup over the sink while it burned. There, she said, it's gone. And that's when I realized she didn't just want money. She wanted control, even over the paperwork. I pulled out my phone, called my lawyer, and put it on speaker. He answered cheerful. Hey, congrats on the wedding. Thanks, I said. Quick question, you still have the certified copy of the prenup, right? Of course, he said. Filed with the court. Why? My wife just burned her copy, I said. Wanted to make sure the legal version is still intact, my lawyer laughed. Burning a copy doesn't invalidate it. The court-filed version is what matters. Tell her nice try. I hung up. My wife stared at me like she just realized this wasn't a movie. You planned this, she said. I planned to protect my inheritance using the prenup you demanded, I said. Yes. She grabbed her purse and left. We were supposed to spend 3 nights at the hotel. She was gone in 20 minutes. 3 days after the wedding, she was staying at her best friend's place. Her lawyer called mine demanding the prenup be voided because I concealed material financial information. My lawyer shut it down fast. Your client demanded a prenup, he said. My client signed it. The prenup specifically addresses inheritance. Nothing was concealed. She didn't ask the right questions. Her lawyer tried to argue I married her under false pretenses. My lawyer said, he married her as a teacher making $58,000. That's still true. His inheritance doesn't change his employment, and your client insisted inheritance stays separate. After that, her best friend called me. "You're Anne," she started. I said, "Hi, nice to talk to you too." "She's devastated," she said. "How could you not tell her about the money?" I said, "She demanded a prenup to protect her assets from my teacher's salary. I respected that by protecting mine." "That's vindictive." "That's legally sound," I said. "She would have never demanded a prenup if she knew." I paused. "Exactly." Then I said it plainly. "She wanted protection from a broke teacher, not a partner with assets. That says a lot." The friend hung up. Then my wife texted, "We need to talk." I said, "Okay." She asked if she could come over. "It's our apartment," she said. "You live here." She came an hour later, different approach, calm, almost sweet. "I've been thinking," she said. "We can get past this." I said, "Okay. But we need to be honest going forward." "Agreed," she said quickly. "So we should redo the prenup now that we know all the financial details." There it was, the real reason she came back. I said, "The prenup is filed. We can't just redo it." "We can amend it," she said. "Add an addendum." "Why would I do that?" I asked. "Because we're married," she said. "We're supposed to be a team." I looked at her and said, "You wanted team rules that protected your higher income. I respected those rules." That was before I knew about the inheritance. "The inheritance the prenup specifically protects," I said. She switched tactics instantly. "Fine," she snapped. "Let's get divorced then." I nodded. "Okay." She blinked like I spoke another language. "What?" she said. "Okay," I repeated. "Let's get divorced. I'll call my lawyer." "You're not even going to fight for us." "You just used divorce as a negotiation tactic," I said. "That's not fighting, that's manipulation." "I didn't mean it," she said. "Then why say it?" I asked. She didn't have a good answer. She left again. Day 5, her mother called. "You need to do right by my daughter," she said. "Hi," I said. "Nice to meet you over the phone." "Don't be smart with me," she snapped. "She's telling everyone what you did." "What did I do?" I asked. "Sign the prenup she demanded. You hid millions." "The prenup says inheritance stays separate," I said. "Whether it's $100 or $4 million, it's separate." "You're going to ruin her reputation," her mother said. "How?" I asked. "By following a contract she insisted on." Then she said, "People are going to think she's a gold digger." I said, "She demanded protection from a teacher making $58,000, then got upset when that teacher had assets. What would you call that?" She hung up. A week later, her lawyer filed for divorce on grounds of fraud and concealment. My lawyer told me they were trying to invalidate the prenup. "Can they?" I asked. "Probably not," he said. "You disclosed your income honestly. You signed what she demanded. The prenup specifically addresses inheritance. They need to prove active deception. You didn't deceive. You didn't volunteer information she never asked for." So the divorce started, and it got ugly fast. Her lawyer filed motions saying I concealed assets, that she signed under duress, that I manipulated her, and the prenup should be voided. My lawyer responded with proof. A timeline showing she demanded the prenup. Emails where she talked about protecting her income from my teacher's salary. Texts where she called my job not lucrative. Notes from her own lawyer about asset protection. At the preliminary hearing, her lawyer stood up and said my fiancé was manipulated into signing an unfair agreement. The judge asked, "Did you read the prenup?" My wife said yes. "Did you have legal representation?" "Yes." "Did your lawyer explain what inheritance meant?" "Yes." The judge leaned forward and asked the question that mattered. "You didn't think he'd inherit anything substantial, right?" My wife hesitated. "I didn't think, but you knew he might inherit something." "Yes." "And you agreed any inheritance would remain separate?" "Yes." The judge nodded once. "Then the prenup is valid," he said. "Motion denied. We'll proceed with divorce under the prenup terms." That was it. Outside court, my wife approached me and said, "This is insane." "We've been married for a month," I said. "You filed for divorce because you're unhappy with the prenup you demanded." "I want what's fair," she said. "Fair according to who?" I asked. "You thought it was fair when you believed I was broke. Now it's unfair because I'm not." Her mom stepped in and said, "She wouldn't have married you if she knew." I stopped. I looked at her mom and said, "Say that again." Her mom froze. "You just said she wouldn't have married me if she knew about the money," I said. "So you're admitting this was never about love, it was about assumptions." Her mom tried to backtrack, saying she meant my wife would have approached things differently. I nodded. "Yeah, she would have pretended better." Then I walked away. After that, her lawyer tried another angle, emotional damages. A $100,000 claim saying I intentionally inflicted distress. The judge dismissed it quickly. Then there was the fight over wedding gifts. We ended up splitting gifts based on who gave them. My family gave more. She didn't like that either. By week 10, we were in the final hearing. Her lawyer said the prenup created an unconscionable outcome because my wife would leave with less than she came in with. The judge asked how. Her lawyer said legal fees. The judge wasn't impressed. Self-inflicted costs from frivolous motions don't override a valid prenup, he said. Divorce granted under prenup terms. She kept her premarital assets. I kept mine and my inheritance. No alimony. Each kept retirement accounts. Cars stayed with their owners. Gifts divided as ordered. Total time married about 11 weeks. Her legal fees $18,000. My legal fees $12,000. As she stood up to leave, she said, "This isn't over." The judge looked at her and said, "Yes, it is. You're divorced. Stop contacting him or I'll issue a restraining order." 3 months later, my life was mostly back to normal. I still teach, still make $58,000, still drive my 2015 Civic. The inheritance is in investments and a trust my lawyer helped set up. I live off my salary like before. I bought a small 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood and paid cash. It felt weird not having a mortgage, but it also felt peaceful. My ex tried to contact me through mutual friends. I shut it down. Her best friend texted saying she regrets how it went. I replied, "Cool." She asked if I could talk to my ex for closure. I said, "The divorce gave closure." Then I heard through the grapevine that my ex started dating her financial advisor. The same one who recommended the prenup. That explained a lot. And honestly, I didn't feel jealous. I felt relieved. Some stories end with heartbreak. This one ended with clarity. I started a financial education program at my school, teaching kids about money, planning, and assumptions. I don't tell them my personal details, but I do tell them this. Don't marry someone who treats love like a deal. I've started dating again, taking it slow. I met someone at a teacher conference. She's a math teacher. Makes about what I make. She doesn't know about the inheritance. Not yet. Will I tell her eventually? Yes. But not until I know she's with me for me. Because I learned something the hard way. Someone can say they love you and still see you as a number. They can call you noble and still look down on you. They can demand teamwork only when it benefits them. People ask if I regret not telling my fiancée about the inheritance earlier. I don't. She demanded a prenup based on the assumption I was broke. I signed it based on the knowledge that I needed protection too. She wanted to protect her assets from a poor teacher. She got protection from a rich one instead. That's not trickery. That's irony. And the legal fees were worth it to learn who she really was before kids and a mortgage made leaving harder. My uncle used to say, "Marry someone who'd be with you if you were broke." I did marry someone who thought I was broke. Turns out that's not the same thing at all. Here are the lessons I'd take from this. Lesson 1, a prenup isn't the problem. The mindset behind it can be. Lesson 2, if someone respects you less because you earn less, they don't respect you at all. Lesson 3, people show their real priorities when they think they have leverage. Lesson 4, if someone only wants teamwork after they learn you have money, that's not love. That's opportunity. Lesson 5, protecting yourself isn't cruel. It's wise, especially when someone gives you an ultimatum. So what would you have done if your partner demanded a prenup because they thought you were financially beneath them? Would you have signed it or walked away right there? And if someone only values you once they learn you have money, is that something you can ever trust again?